Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's the guy who some people call a sociopath, even though I've never worked in finance. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rob Has a Podcast. We've got our recap here after episode number 4, and we've got a great guest here to talk about everything that's going on in Survivor 49. Of course, from Survivor 44, Jaime Lynn Ruiz is here.
I'm here. Hi, Rob. I'm so happy to be here. So excited. Can't believe it's already season 49.
It's been 5 seasons.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It's wild. And oh my gosh, it's so fun to watch and kind of remember going through it, especially watching yourself back. So the season 49 people kind of watching themselves back, doing their exit press and kind of getting used to not believing what the internet has to say about them. I think is a really key advice. Like, don't read the internet because you're all shining stars. I love 49. I mean, everybody on every season is cast for a reason. And I love this new season. It's fun. Can't believe it's 49.
Can't wait to get into all of it with you, and we'll talk about the reaction to this cast and what they should be thinking. I want to mention our presenting sponsor for this episode of the podcast, our friends over at Manta Sleep, makers of all sorts of great products to help you get some sleep. And Jaime is going to wave her magic wand to get you 10% off at mantasleep.com. Use promo code RHAP49. Okay, Jaime, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Rob?
Oh, thank you. I am a little under the weather still from being in New York. I went to New York and I was there for a week. We did the live show and I went to a wedding and had a very nice time, but I'm still a little bit just trying to fight through a cold I picked up along the way. But hopefully I feel good. I don't sound great.
Well, hopefully we can get through it. I'm sending you healing vibes.
Yes. What can I take, Jaime? What should I be taking right now?
You know what? I was actually going to say have you done like the honey tea? I feel like that's like a voice thing. Honey tea, eucalyptus, there's just all the soothing herbs.
Yeah, I do a lot of honey, especially if I'm not feeling so great. But what do I do with eucalyptus? Is that a tea?
Okay, so you can there's eucalyptus tea that's kind of cooling, but if you have a nasal thing going on, you can do eucalyptus in your shower. Have you tried that?
No.
It's so refreshing. It's like a steam spa day. It is amazing. Okay. So you grab a branch of eucalyptus from like Trader Joe's or behind you, hang it in your shower.
We were talking about this. I still think that this is fake. Jaime thinks it might be real. This is Jaime. This is like your idol. This is like you think it's real, and I say it's fake.
Listen, seeing is believing. So, but if you get the real thing and then hang it in your shower, and it kind of opens up your nasal passages.
Okay.
The high steam honey tea, any kind of tea with honey. All of the little vocal tricks that the singers do.
Yeah.
I feel like.
All right. Listen, I'm open to it. I'll try it. Okay, Jaime, I thought that you were such a great person to reach out to talk about what's going on here at this point in Survivor, because we were talking about this of like, oh, who should we try to reach out to? And we said, okay, who's somebody that got swapped? And there haven't been that many swaps in the new era. But we said, oh, you know what? How about Jaime? But Jaime, in addition to being a person who survived a swap, somebody who's played the shot in the dark, has been around for people getting medically evacuated. So I'm dying to know what you're thinking about everything that's going on.
I have so many thoughts. Oh my gosh.
So where do we want to start?
Let's start with, I kind of want to put this out there. I don't know if it's okay. The medically evacuated issue from last episode was fascinating to me because, season 44, we had 2 medevacs. Well, we had Bruce, episode 1, and then we also had Matthew, episode 1, that got injured. And that was just on repeat. We were seeing that over and over again. And I don't know if it's too soon, but like I wanted to see the snake. Like I wanted to see the bite. I mean, the
Okay.
cameras were on. Is that too soon?
Okay,
But we have
so
cameras
you're
on us
saying
at
that
all
we
times.
didn't have the footage of the snake bite, and you said, and we saw Matthew fall. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying like, yeah, it ended up being the crate clickbait because I thought from the previews I was gonna see a
Hmm.
snake bite. I was like, yes, I can't wait till that episode. And there's obviously something that happens because we see the medical team there. And then and I was like, wait, I need to rewind it. Did I miss something? And then we didn't get to see the bite. And then I go back to my season and I'm thinking, wow, it was kind of, we saw the blood on Bruce's head. We saw the dislocated shoulder over and
Yeah.
over and over again. And anywho, uh, so I don't know if it was too soon for the snake bite, something else,
I
but
think
that
they
was
didn't have
just
the footage. I think they would have shown it if they had it. I don't think that they were filming. I think he was by himself by the water. I think that what we saw in the episode, I suspect, was a different time he was sitting by the water. And I don't think
mm,
anybody was filming him or they didn't have the camera on him when he actually got bit. Because I think
okay.
they would have told him to move. I think they would have said, hey, there's a snake near you. I don't think they would have just filmed it. Even though they used to back in the day say that they
Right.
would film anything, I think that the producers would have told him, hey, we don't want you to die.
Right. Yes. And we
Our
actually
job
saw
security is hangs in the balance here.
right. And I know that they're very calm. We saw one when we were out there and they really don't
You saw a
move. And
secret.
yes, we had it in the corner by the rocks. There was and obviously we didn't go near it, but we were all being filmed as we were observing the snake.
Yeah.
So I think they're a little bit more common than we think. But and that's not to put fear in anyone that goes out there. It's like you feel safe. I mean, you're as long as you don't touch the snake, I think. So it was just interesting. I thought the behind the scenes was fascinating to see for the little peek behind the curtain. I like that they shared that. They shared the island safety guide, which is now, opening up this new idea of, we really are out there on the island with nothing. I mean, we have a little reference guide where it's like you can choose to reference it or not. Um, but I loved the behind the scenes from last episode. It was really lengthy and obviously a tragic way to go out of a show, especially, that's your dream to go on there and your dad's watching, you have a baby on the way. So I did tear up when he had to end up going home that episode. It was heartbreaking. But I wanted to see the action. I mean, I love that the jungle, the real life on the island part of Survivor, and not really even the behind the scenes. It's just like the what you deal with, when you're out there. Um, so
Jamie, okay, so how about this? Is there anything else besides the secret that we as viewers don't know about that is as life threatening for the survivors
life threatening. I
or
think
dangerous?
I think it's gonna be that's probably the most life threatening. Obviously, maybe a shark in the waters if you're out there swimming pretty deep. I
Wow.
mean, you have your Hawaiian sling and you're underwater, so anything can be underwater. But there's more annoying things like at night, if you don't wear socks, you're gonna get bitten up. And I remember not wearing socks a few nights, and I would wake up with just like bites all over my feet, and they're so itchy, like ants, and then also spiders, and um, because you're sleeping on the sand. Which, for the record, I wanted to say that about this episode. I totally get sleeping on the sand in the opening scene. It's so comfortable. There is no way sleeping on bamboo is more comfortable. That's something that we tried it day one, and we all reverted back to digging like a shoulder hole and a hip hole in the sand and then nuzzling into the sand every night. Not on the beach. We did the beach a couple nights, but then so anyway, so I totally get that sleeping on the beach
Yeah. Well, can you
scene.
explain to the listeners why is it recommended that people don't sleep on the beach?
I think was it recommended not to sleep on the
I,
beach?
I'm asking. So, I played in a totally different biome in the Amazon. You do not want to sleep on the floor in the Amazon. And then in Panama, I guess you could have slept on the beach, but I kind of feel like that they don't necessarily want you to. But
I think
I
it
guess
was
is
I
there
think
no
the
fire
worst
on the
case
beach?
there so the first few nights we were on the beach because we didn't have fire, which that's another thing that needs to be emphasized more. When you don't have fire, it is awful because it's cold at night. And really it was we needed the more moonlight is why we ended up sleeping on the beach the first couple days. But I think the worst thing that can happen is like the tide coming up and or crabs, spiders. If you don't want to deal with
Sea
that,
grates?
yeah, yes, the sea crates. Um, but it definitely is more comfy. It's just, you have a cool ocean
Makes sense.
breeze. We brought palms over and would use them as blankets the first couple nights because without fire, it's miserable. It's so cold at night, and you wouldn't think because you're on the island. But yeah, I definitely think that I understand the beach sleeping. Even though they ended up getting wet, it was like I
Hmm.
didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the plight of these survivors that had to switch up tribes. Now, in Survivor 44, just to remind people, it wasn't a traditional swap by any stretch of the imagination. It was that people went on a journey and then didn't go back. It was like a wife swap situation.
Yes, that was oh my gosh, it was cool because obviously you want to do a journey on Survivor, the experience, bucket list. But it's very you have to be very adaptable to a new crowd. It's like your first day of school at a new school where everybody's been going to school together and you're kind of the new kid on the block.
Hmm.
I think that's if you go into it open and really playing their game. You can't come in with your game. So for me, I went over to Soka and was greeted with open arms, but it's really the only option that you have is to figure out okay, who's the majority and just cling to that and or make yourself valuable to each side knowing the numbers. And at that time we had 5 people left. Let's see, was it, oh no, it was 4 and then 5. I was the 5th one because Josh
Hmm.
was gone. So um oh, I swapped with Josh, that's right. I was like, wait, who did I swap with?
Yeah.
It can be
Claire had
very
been voted out of that
that's right,
tribe,
yes.
and then you took Josh's place.
And then Josh went, yes. So it was very intimidating. It's extremely intimidating. And also, it's a solo swap. So
Hmm.
you're going in with your game and knowing everything from Ratu, which is valuable.
Yeah.
And you have as much information as you know. And for me, I had already been to tribal. So we knew where the lines were and or weren't based on who, if you played your shot in the dark or not. So I had already had that experience. And um, going into it, you have to go with open arms and give everybody exactly what they want to hear
Yeah.
so that you keep your options open and then they see you a number and then hopefully, whoever's case is more appealing, you can kind of latch onto. But you definitely, for me, I was able to pick up the vibes almost immediately, especially with, Matt and Franny. That was they tried to keep it secret, but I remember knowing almost immediately, like, there's something going on here, especially when love is involved. You know that
Yeah.
there's a bigger force to reckon with those two. So, although they were trying to keep it low key, it was pretty obvious. But you really have to kind of blend in and adapt and kind of be willing to drop your existing game that you were trying to build. And I think that can be hard, especially if somebody's like a really big strategy person going into a swap where you're kind of rooted in your idea of how you want things to go versus just living in the moment and stepping into what you're given. I think that's the really important part and why we see different players adapting differently because of whether they're stubborn or they're not picking up on the vibe. It's fun to see how it's fun when you have a swap like they have on 49 because you have different characters interpreting the swap differently. And that was really fun to watch last night. But I do remember, though, you also feel very alone. I remember feeling very, very alone, and then having to adapt to their house, like
Yeah.
this is their kitchen. I'm like, yeah, but I want the kitchen over here. And then, they had a really great setup for sleeping. I didn't like sleeping on the bamboo, but everybody slept on the bamboo, so I had to make that sacrifice when I was on Soka, which is the most uncomfortable. I don't think I slept a wink on Soka. But anyway, just little adaptations like that. I needed the sleep mask.
Yeah.
If I had the sleep mask, I would have
It would
slept
have
on Soka.
worked wonders. So it seems like that maybe the person that you could have related to the most from Survivor 49 might be Sophie B, who was the person who came over and was able to really ingratiate herself very well to the existing members of the old Uli tribe that she was with.
Yes, I love Sophie. She is doing exactly what she needs to do by immediately giving them what they need. Whatever you need to hear, here I am. And I'm so grateful to be through. I've been through it all at this point, and I survived, and I'm here for you however you need me. She quickly adapted in relationships, because sometimes it can be hard, because the first few nights, there's something special about when you're there with people the first few nights. I feel like, for me, a really deep bond occurred. Even with, on my season, Maddie, I feel so close and still feel so close with her, even though we only had a few nights together. And so having her recognize the importance of switching, adapting really quickly, and picking out, okay, I know that this is the majority in this tribe, and I need to just be on that side. It's Sophie is playing such a great game. Even though she's been through it all, she's played more Survivor than anybody there already, and she's doing a great job. I love Sophie. I love watching her just kind of take the punches and roll with it. She's turning lemons into lemonade. I mean, she's just really even though, and also I want to emphasize that also, I'm always watching her and the disaster tribe of the season, because they've been through it all without having fire. They're not sleeping, they're not eating. Not having fire is such a big deal that's not talked about enough. When you don't eat and you don't sleep, and I know they mentioned it in a couple of their tribals, how they couldn't think clearly. You really can't. They're having a bite of coconut a day and not sleeping. It's freezing cold at night. So anyhow, I just really feel for them, because the first few nights that we had without fire, it really was hard. It's hard. And
Mhm.
so, and then you're playing a game, and where you really are just like, I'm freezing. I can't sleep. I can't think. So anyhow, I love seeing her just kind of get through it. And now she's on the other side of it with this swap. And it's going to be fun to watch because of her experience already, and knowing how her loyalty needs to stay strong. The last vote that she did last episode, I thought was amazing, because, I mean, she had to do that because Alex had the idol. So
Yeah.
it was, she's making really great moves, great decisions, even though it's kind of like, oh, I wanted them to be besties until the end. She did what she needed to do, and it might, she's adapting quickly. It might feel like it's a little scrappy, but it's all working for her, and I love watching that kind of gameplay.
You know, in some ways, I feel like that for Sophie, it was easier to do this swap because she went from the disaster tribe to now, okay, I have a new option, but she doesn't have multiple options. She really has like one option of, hey, there's this new group, I've got to get in good with them. I feel like for somebody like yourself, it probably was a little bit more challenging because you really had two choices of, do I really try to make myself a part of this new group that I'm in, or am I really just trying to bide my time to get back to my original people? And that must be that's kind of the thing that Jason and Matt had to wrestle with in terms of like, okay, I'm not in a great spot here, but do I try to pitch myself as part of this, or am I really just like, do I not want to have a false pretense and I'm just trying to get back to my old people?
Right. And it's, for me, I remember it being a little bit further into the game, seemingly, where I always had Ratu on my mind. So even with the stories that I told Soka, they were always um they were very filtered stories that I would share. So I wasn't sharing every single detail that happened on Ratu. That kind of came to bite me in the butt once we hit merge, because there was information that I left out, especially about the idol and Brandon finding, a lot of those type of details. But it was really tough because you don't know how long it's going to last. How long do I have to be here with these people? Can I make it work? So for me, it was, and then I had the choice, it's like I'm teaming up with Heidi and Danny, and how do I trust them just in 1 or 2 days? What
Mhm.
Heidi and Danny and or Franny and Matt, but then I have Heidi and Franny approaching me. And so who do I believe? It's very hard to trust in a situation like that where you have hours with each other and you're already having to make decisions. So it was almost like I needed to adapt and then really hope that we won the challenges and that we somehow made it to merge. And then I'm thinking about Ratu and I'm like, okay, I know that they're probably bonding with Carson. What is that going to look like when I go back? Are they going to forget about me? Like, I hope that they
Right.
know that I'm still Team Ratu. And I had built my bonds enough with Ratu though that I knew I could go back and gather as much information from Soka as possible, but by kind of playing neutral with them. So you really have this balancing act. It is such a difficult pickle to be in when you have a swap. You have to just live in the moment and take it hour by hour. There's no other way because things change so fast, especially in the new era where you don't have, multiple days between tribals to talk about things or between challenges. It's like you are having to be on your toes at all times and then
And
you're questioning everything. So,
can you remind me in your particular situation? So you got swapped to the 4. You had the idol, which was a fake idol, but you believed to be a real idol. Did you tell the people on your swap tribe, "Hey, just so you know, I have an idol"?
I did not share my idol. That was my biggest fear, was having my fake idol be found out. So I'm there thinking I have this real idol.
Yeah.
And I remember keeping it a secret. In fact, I remember, and I don't know how I need to go back and watch, but I think the edit shows Danny going through my bag, and I remember doing my confessionals and being so worried that somebody was going to go through my bag because I have my idol in there.
Mhm.
And from that day forward, I kept my idol in my sock because I didn't want anybody on Soka to know that I had that idol. So I did not use that as I was trying to keep it as, the old school Survivor, we don't tell everybody about our
Yeah.
idol type vibe as possible, besides the person that I found it with, which is Matthew. But my idea was to keep it a secret and to know that no matter what, I have that as protection. And then I also had the idol that was given to me during the journey. So I had my
Oh,
fake idol, and then I had the journey
I
idol,
forgot about that.
which
Was good
that
for
was
one
even
tribal council?
it was good. Yes. So it
Yeah.
was like you play it. So I knew that I would be safe because worst case scenario, I was just gonna throw the idol up. And they kind of were suspicious and they asked me. And then of course Danny's going through my bag, which I don't blame them. But I remember wanting to keep that a secret. And so it was two idols that I was hiding. So every day it's like when you're shoving idols in your socks and shoes,
Yeah.
it was a nightmare, but I wanted to kind of keep that close to my chest so that I could go back to Ratu and say, "Hey, this is information that I didn't share with them," and prove to them that I wasn't going to betray them. So you're you're really having to mold to every situation, and like I said, live in that exact moment because anything, oh my gosh, it happens so fast when you're out there. And not knowing who to trust, and it also happened right when you get comfy. So I had my house plant over at Ratu. I had, our routine. We were making our coconut popcorn. We had it going on. We had our fire. We would build it up before challenges. I mean, we were really a little family that we had going on. And then to be uprooted like that, it was heartbreaking. And so But I know that I truly try to make the best of everything. And I love meeting people. So it was fun and I also loved like the Survivor. I mean, I loved seeing another island and like being
Hmm.
able to, experience a different part of it. So anyway, the word of the day is adaptable. Sophie killed it, and going and not being so rooted. Everybody thinks that they're running their own game. Part of that is knowing that you might not be in the lead, like you're not leading, you're not narrating, you're kind of, you know, you might be in, you might, you just need to be aware of when you enter a new tribe, you are at the bottom. So, which is nice because in my situation, because it was just me giving the idol, it would have been an easy vote for them to say, okay, let's get Jamie out. And truly, that's probably what would have happened. And then I would play my idol. So when I went in, I was the only way that I would have told them that I had an idol is if we were going to tribal council, because then it was positioning to like, hey, put the votes on me. And then who do we want to get out? You know,
Hmm. So I want to go back to Jason, and he had a different idea than Matt, and he told everybody, "Hey, I'm still loyal to my people, and you know what? I'm just thinking I'm gonna play my shot in the dark tonight. That's what I'm gonna do. Shot in the dark." He said, "I want to be like a crab in a hole, and if anybody tries to stick their hands in, I'm gonna chomp at them." And Jamie, this was something that I would say that you were really the person to make this happen first. Of
yes.
okay,
And yes,
set the
and to make
stage.
it
Yeah,
so for my shot in the dark move, I think I was the first person to make it a public conversation. That was something that I kind of used as a tool to threaten that,
right.
hey, this I'm gonna play it. So you're gambling now because it's 1 in 6. I'm telling you guys I'm playing it. So, and that's our first tribal is a disaster because we go into it, and from what I knew, I was the target. The girls tell me that, the guys tell me that. So, okay, perfect. Then none of you guys need my vote. No one needs my vote. I'm playing my shot in the dark. We'll see what happens. And so having it be a public conversation, and then, our tribal again saying I'm playing it, which really the shot in the dark up until then was like a secret thing where you kept it private. But if you have this like absolute move that that's happening, then you're all of a sudden calculating, well, what if it does hit? Okay,
Yeah,
so then are we splitting it? What if it ricochets? What's happening? Obviously, it didn't go in the way that I would have wanted to because I was really close with Maddie, but that did instill enough fear to have the people that were able to vote not look in my direction anymore. So for me, it was a win. And then it was a double win when I ended up being safe. But it was really leveraging it in a way where then when you use your shot in the dark, you can't vote. So it keeps both options open. And at the time, it was Brandon and Lauren, and then I had Kane, Matthew, and Maddie. So either way, it was like, okay, now I also don't have to show my cards. So
hmm,
it becomes something that it's public. So you kind of are inviting everybody to just like, okay, gamble. Like, what are you gonna do? And
right.
it's fun to talk about that because in just logic strategy talk, you kind of forget, oh my gosh, that could happen, which is fun. And why, and in this season specifically, I wanted to know why. I really wanted Nicole to play hers. She mentioned
Yeah,
it episode 1, and I was like, yes, play it. That's the perfect example of when you would play it in that, especially when you have a 6-person tribe. If
yeah.
you may as
And it
well.
wasn't like they were counting on her vote.
Yes. And then the other benefit is you don't have to show your cards. You then are automatically in the middle, and you get to choose which way you want to go. And so there's a lot of ways to do it. But I think that was, for my season, one of the, our first tribal was, we were almost the disaster tribe. And we
Yeah,
laughed for days after that because we had to pull together and figure out how to win and how to get along and how to uh, get our heads in the game, because it rattles you when you go to that first tribal council. And then benefit though is you're playing the game. So you are then thinking about the game more than these other two tribes who have never been to tribal council. So when you don't, when it's everything's still unexpected, like, oh, what's it like? Oh, we go and we get to see the set and, Jeff's there. You don't have the experience of playing. So the more tribals, the better, especially like for Sophie and Alex
Hmm.
now, it's like they have it under their belt. And I think, especially with Sophie's move on knowing that she needed to vote with Alex to show her loyalty and true. And the way that she sold it, I was like, oh yeah, like she is like her nail person. And
Yeah.
anywho, long story longer, the shot in the dark can be used creatively, and that was my point in making it a huge production. I think it was even more of a big deal than they showed on my episode, or on that
So
first episode.
do you feel like that Jason telling people he was going to play his shot in the dark, even though he didn't, and I'd like to talk about that, do you
Yeah.
feel like that is the difference between what saved him versus Matt?
Well, I think when people hear that you're gonna play your shot in the dark, the way that I saw people interpreting it last night was it was Jason, you got to pick. If you're not going to show
Hmm.
whose side you're on, that's kind of like a really easy way. Like, this is how you prove your loyalty to me. So it's really that strong um expectation, like you need to vote this way and then you'll prove it, which is also you're balancing that out. So would it have been, I mean, he was right, they didn't really need his vote and he could have just stood back, but he needed to adapt and live in the moment, which is what he ultimately did by not playing it
Yeah.
and not living in fear, because that's the other thing. So it he got major points for instead leveraging his the most valuable tool, which is his vote, and proving like, hey, I'm here now, here's how I'm adapting. So whoever got in his ear about that and finally and not using the shot in the dark, it ended up in his favor, obviously.
Yeah, and so you feel like that he was able to prove his loyalty a little
Yes.
bit. And the
I
thing that I also like about him not playing it is now he's kind of a sitting duck if they go to tribal council again, if he has played it. Luckily, you didn't have to worry about that going to another pre-merge tribal council. But for Jason, if they go back, now he is just an easy target if they have another tribal council.
Yes, and so positioning himself by showing his loyalty with his vote, hopefully he can start to talk his way up from the bottom
Hmm.
and add value, talk about, his other relationships that he has, but really he kind of has to let go of that
Yeah.
and be where he is now, because he's in Hina,
Yep.
the new Hina. So he's Hina 2.0 now. And Hina 2. Which I wish they would have changed the names of the tribes,
What do
because
you want to change it to?
I don't know. I just wish that it was like, if we go to two tribes, have the first original three tribes, and then they're two totally different new tribes. So they should have two totally different new names, because
Interesting.
it's not like when I went to Soka. I became Soka. These everybody grabbed it out, and they needed to do a whole like, hey, brand new. We've got 7 and 7, which is a big tribe, and I loved seeing a big tribe. Miss having a big tribe.
Yeah.
It's so much fun, and I know that there's a lot of conversation about that, like, oh, we want the two tribe. I truly, because I'm a day one survivor, I miss that, where it's like you have these mini relationships, mini alliances with 10 people or 8 people. It's just incredible to watch. And so I was so excited. However, the names can be confusing, because then it's like, okay, they're not Hina, they're Hina 2.0. Or like, hey guys, and that's something like I wish that they would have asked production when we were there, like, can we come up with a new name because we're new people, and made it a fun thing.
Yeah.
And then kind of
This is an
dwindled
original
down.
take. No, I don't think anybody's ever pitched this before. Of when they do a swap, let's have new names for the tribes.
Yes, it's a new name, new blood, new people. I mean, the cards weren't drawn exactly down the line, so it's like, there's heavy four, it's 4 and 2, or there's an obvious
Yeah.
um so anywho, I don't like that. I really wish they would do that, and then still change the name at merge, because that's another fun thing. It's like then you have a totally new tribe if you all made
Hmm.
it through. But I do like that they did this. So the swap is very different than, again, when I just went to Soka. I go to Soka and I have to adapt. It's like they're here and they can kind of build Hina 2.0 into its own new tribe.
Yeah.
Who's going to take the lead? What does that look like? Because it really is. You have a different dynamic. You're all of a sudden positioned totally different within your tribe. And yeah, it's just, and you're on a different beach. If you swapped beaches, which that would be a nightmare to go to the disaster tribe beach because it's
Right.
miserable, especially I know they showed a scene where Savannah and Rizzo, they were loving the hammocks on the, and I
Yeah.
think she mentioned
They
something
were
like,
like, we're
this is,
in Hina's hammock. Look at
yes.
us.
Big and it's only been a week, which for the record, also that's another thing that is such a big deal. Having the hammock,
Yeah.
we were still on that early new era where we didn't have hammocks, so we were literally on the sand every single day. I would love to have had a
Right.
hammock.
Jamie, now that we're talking about it, where you saw Savannah and Rizzo really like were relishing. Look, we're on Hina's hammock. You saw when Sophie voted, she was mocking the Hina cheer. Jawan said it was so cringe. It seems like that there is some bad blood between the Uli tribe and the Hina tribe coming into this. Do you think that the chant of the Hina chant coming in is really the biggest reason why there's some animosity? Or do you think it's just that the Uli tribe felt like that they couldn't beat Hina and that's why they have animosity towards them?
I think the Hina chant, I totally get that because I'm a cheerleader like that. When I was playing, we had Soka, Soka, Soka. We had 1-2, 1-2, Ratu. I mean, those are literally our chants.
Yeah.
So I get that. And it's because they haven't played Survivor. Like they haven't played the game. They are in this fun little, it's been a week on the beach. They haven't had that cutthroat feeling where there's lines drawn in the sand. They haven't gone to tribal council. And so I think it's easy to be that happy go lucky, because once you go to tribal and there's lines drawn, it's hard to build up that cohesive feeling. So, I mean, is it intimidating? I mean, it's fun. It's fun to watch and to get them excited. There's definitely a rivalry. I feel like that always happens between the two tribes, and that's how the underdogs are able to wiggle in between the two that are fighting each other. Um, so the disaster tribe ends up kind of making
Yeah.
their way to the top, but it's the Hina. I mean, it's a fun thought. I think that Uli, they have deep bonds without even really having to do that and to flaunt it. If you are and you never know what's going on. So you can hide behind a chant and just have that game face on. It's like if there are a lot of athletes on the team, that might be the thing where then there's behind the scenes feuding. It could be all a charade for because you're putting on a show during tribal council. You're putting on a
Hmm.
show when you're at challenges, and you're trying to gather information, but then you're also trying to trick people. You don't know who's close, and you don't really know what's going on the other beaches. So I mean, I think the Hina is fun, but there's definitely makes you wonder, like, okay, where are the cracks? But there's always cracks. It's just a facade. It's just a little fun, a fun presentation of their
Yeah.
tribe.
Because you never know. I mean, these tribes sometimes, when we see this, the tribes that are really good that in the challenges physically, sometimes that these tribes are a disaster behind the scenes. We has had that in Survivor 41, that the tribe with Erica and Deshaun and Danny, like they were a hot mess, but they were winning all the challenges.
Yes, it is. So it's very deceiving, and you really don't know. There's never a cut and dry answer, and I think that the mistake can be made if you think you know on Survivor. If you think you know, because isn't there a saying where it's like you are either 100% right or you're wrong. Like there's no in between. And
Wow.
so
I never heard that
I
before.
mean, it's really
You're
no,
either
there's
100% right or you're wrong.
I mean, right? Like you're giving your take and you can be so confident, but it's like, and so you're either really confident for all the right reasons and you're 100% right, or you're 100% confident and you're totally wrong. And it's like one person is always going to be the totally wrong person, no matter
Yeah.
what. And everybody's getting asked the same questions. So,
I'd love to talk to you about Matt and where he went wrong in this episode. And so we got to see where Savannah used her interviewing skills, and she talked to Matt about he talked about his career at the airport. And then she asked him the question about what did you do before the airport? And Matt appeared to be caught a little flat-footed. He wasn't ready. Now, Jamie, we all know that you are a yogi and talked about it on the show, but our research team at RHAP went back to your survivor bio and you wrote the accomplishment that you are the most proud of was having the courage to quit a 10-year career to follow your dreams. What was your career for being a yogi?
I worked in corporate America in finance.
Oh, no! For real?
Bing, yes.
Okay.
So it is, yeah, and that is what I was the most proud of because, you kind of just, if you, I couldn't see myself doing that for 50 years. Like, it's giving boomer staying in a career for 50 plus years and then retiring. It just wasn't who I is that who I am? No, that's not. I am
Yeah.
not the desk girly.
Well, how
And
did you get started doing that? Because it doesn't seem like something, knowing you a little bit, that doesn't seem like the career that you would be in.
it was just the safe choice for
Yeah.
me. And once you get comfy and you start, making money, it's like, okay, I'm doing it. Like, this is it. And so you get used to that lifestyle. And it was very easy to play you're playing the corporate game, which is also like, if you know how to play the corporate game, you can come play Survivor and do very well. You have to, know your role, know the vision, the goals, um,
Hmm.
and so I think that is I laughed when Savannah had that read on Matt because you never really know. And with the career talk where everyone's like, oh, I want to hide my career because it's this. And it's like, yeah, but were you ever really, really good at that? Because and I don't know. It gets to a point where it starts to become silly wanting to hide your career because it's like, is that who you are? Or like, were you good at it? And how does that relate to Survivor? I think it's like obviously the common conversation every season we get to hear who's hiding their career or not. But I think Savannah is very good at sensationalizing, just like a journalist would.
Oh, this
The
was clickbait.
Yes, she was great at selling that to her tribe. So she took the headline, sensationalized it, and he's gone. So it was
If it bleeds, it
fantastic.
leads. Sociopath out. Film at
Yes.
11.
Exactly. Tune in at 6. She did a fantastic job,
Yeah.
and it was so believable. And so, for that is definitely maybe that is a threatening career to have because she can take a headline and twist it into whatever she
Yeah,
wants,
journalist. You gotta lie
and
about
then
that.
it's believable. So,
Well, I
she's
think
using
she
her
is. I think
skill
she's saying
set.
she's in marketing. I think that she
Yes.
had said in the preseason that she was not going to tell people about her career. But Jamie, were you prepared to tell people something else when you came into the game having that background, or were you not even thinking that that would be a big deal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that
Nobody ever asked.
no
Nobody
one
asked the
really
probing
asked.
question.
I kind of led with like, here's what I'm doing now. And we talked about because I do a lot of I do marketing now.
Hmm.
And I also do yoga, I do nonprofit yoga stuff. And so it was kind of like it never really came up. It's like once you're asked, so I didn't make it a big deal. I didn't want it to be like I'm hiding my history and my experience because also if you I think really in Survivor there's a pattern of not necessarily what you do for work, but how many people have you interacted with in your life? Because to me, it's always a people game. So if you can interact and adapt with the most people, you know, it's easy, that practice and repetition, the 10,000 hours,
Wow.
it's easy to learn about people if you're facing them every single day. So it doesn't matter if you are serving at a coffee shop, you're interacting with people, and dealing with the public is really hard. So if you have that experience, like Jam Jam in a salon, he's greeting people all day, every day. And so if you're meeting 1,000 people a week, you have that practice of interacting, conversing, and swaying people. And anyway, that's kind of, I wasn't ever really
Can
worried about
I
it.
can I expand on that? Because I think that that's one of the most insightful things I've heard about Survivor in a while. Of there is like a quantifiable formula of like what is like the sheer volume of people that you're interacting with, per day, per week, and those reps that you talk about, like with a Jam Jam or a Kenzie or somebody who's working like in the service industry, and we talk about that a lot, that's just something that's really quantifiable that we could talk about, of like what is your level of experience dealing with not just like one particular relationship, but whatever type of person Survivor is going to throw at you.
Exactly. I think it's a missed, obvious skill set that a lot of people have. And you can tell when you're talking to the person like a Jam Jam or like a Kenzie, people might, and the people that don't understand that, because there's people that don't understand, oh, why did this person win or this person not win? And it's, it is, people always remember the way that you make them feel, not
Yeah.
what you said or did. It truly does resonate and translate directly to Survivor in the microcosm that it is. It's, it's so fascinating. So when you have winners like that, it's like, I know exactly why Jam Jam won. I know exactly why Kenzie won. And they won for good reason, because they made people feel a certain way, because they have a lot of practice in doing that when they're selling whatever their trade is. It doesn't matter, again, if it's a coffee shop, salon, or, and however long you spend time. I think that those type of people are more threatening in such a sneaky way than anyone, that comes in and they're, a doctor wanting to hide it. Although if you're a lawyer, that's the one profession where I'm like, okay, if you're a practicing lawyer, I mean, even the Big Brother winner, that was a fantastic final, if you are a lawyer, that's the one that I can see my tribe, Kane is one of the smartest people I know. He's a lawyer. He could have talked his way in and out of anything. And so those are kind of hidden.
So
So I understand that profession.
yeah, so lawyer, you feel like that they have an ability to persuade. That's because I feel like that it's
Yes,
typically people who are
Kyle.
like, oh, they're smart, but you think that also because they have like the gift of making a persuasive argument.
Yes, the gift of persuasion, but then also presentation
Hmm.
and the assertiveness and the authority that you have to have in a final tribal, and the certainty that you have to have in the relationships, and knowing how to build that. I mean, they're building a case. Literally, we all say, "Oh, we're putting it on our resume, we're building our case," but the lawyers have professional experience and hours of studying cases and how they're built. So I think that's the pattern that we see in these reality shows of the lawyers winning. And that's the career that I can see somebody hiding, and or kind of, but then it's like you could have a lawyer it's like they're an insurance lawyer that's, just
Right.
hitting enter on everything, and they don't really have that, uh, you know, experience presenting to a jury. And so anyway, I always giggle when it's I'm hiding my career, I'm not. And it's fun to see how people relate Survivor and having that conversation. Obviously, it's fun to talk about. When I was there, I didn't really think that, I mean, I knew, and that's how I built myself. I knew my experience in corporate America and dealing with the corporate politics was going to help me with the social politics on Survivor. That's something that, me dealing with the hundreds of people that I had to deal with and, pitch ideas to,
Yeah.
and make it work in a cutthroat environment. It translates directly, but you have to then be adaptable though. So I knew if I'm walking into this boardroom, I'm acting like this because I need to make sure that he thinks that it's his idea. And so you're kind of just having to play and so those are the skills that I brought to Survivor. And now we're watching Savannah bring the skills from her, I'm sure it was a 10-year career in journalism, of being able to persuade people. And so it makes sense that, she has it, she has that, she's very persuasive, and she has that leadership quality where you're just drawn to her. And then she connected with Sophie right away, so she's doing a really great job at using that skill set from her profession. Although I don't think though that if she did say she was a journalist that they would necessarily draw that as it, because again,
Hmm.
you could be a journalist and not be that persuasive.
Yeah.
So it's interesting
Look,
to watch.
I think almost anything people could find a reason to be able to attack you for, oh, they're this, so they have that. And so if people are trying to build a case against you, I think they would. But I just thought that the way that you were able to articulate why the career that you were in wasn't a fit, you did such a good job with that, as opposed to the way that Matt really made it seem like, oh, you found my secret weakness. And I talked to him this morning, and I asked him about that moment. He said that he felt like that the case had already been made against him prior to that. That was shortly before tribal council that came up, and he thought that the votes were already coming his way. But he really did handle it like, oh, I wasn't sure if I was going to tell you guys, and you have something I didn't really want to
Yes.
admit. Where you really owned it, and you talked about how, yeah, I had this other career that I pursued, and it was something that was safe, and I realized it wasn't for me, and I got out of it, and I made this change. And I think that there's just a way to really position it as something that you were doing, but you didn't like. There's something about it that wasn't the type of person that you are.
Yes, definitely. And it's easy to just redirect the conversation if they come at you with that, and not making it the highlight of the conversation. It's like just drop it and move on and change the subject rather than like, whoops, I got caught. But I think when you're out there and you're kind of excited, and that's probably what you're telling, in your interviews, you're saying, listen, I'm not going to say my history, and I don't want them to know, because we know how it's been perceived on the show in the past. I think it's just so much easier to just redirect. I think it should have just been like, oh yeah, that was me, and then move on, so that, because you're trying to kind of have no, you need to just not have all eyes on you. So whatever you can do, it's like, okay, well, oh, what do you do, Savannah? What did you used to do? So, and ask questions back rather than just like saying, "Oh, I'm caught." But I think it was just, that's just his genuine. That's the other thing. It's like, that's why he's genuine. So the read should have been, he's not a sociopath. He's genuine because he was so excited, and the way that he worded it also in saying that I wasn't going to tell you guys. That's also like very sincere. And so I
Mhm.
don't think that that's, but again, like when we want to sensationalize things, we know the words to use. And she did a great job, which is fun to watch.
We heard from Sophie S. really for the first time in a little bit, or really for the first time this season last night. Sophie S. Talked about the same thing in a few different matters. She talked about the food situation on the island. She got swapped to the new Kella tribe, which does not have a lot of things for people to eat, and machetes and pots and things like that. And she said the only thing that they have to eat there are worms. Now, Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong. You too ate worms on Survivor, correct?
Yes, correct. I think I was one of the first people to eat worms. That was
You started it. They're reheating your worms.
we got the the worms are back, and they are serving. Okay, they are doing a great job. Even going back a couple episodes when they were,
Jeremiah was
yes,
eating them. Yeah.
Jeremiah ate, and the worms hold a special place in my heart because that also,
Now,
okay, so
sometimes dogs can have worms a special place in their heart, and that's bad.
yes, they can, but this is the good kind of worm.
Okay.
This is the edible kind of worm, according to the safety guide. It's 70% protein.
Is that
So
in
if
there?
you
Is
find,
that in the
it
binder
is.
that you can eat them? Okay.
Yes. So they are deemed edible in the island safety guide. 70% protein. And for me, once you hit day 4, I think that was the first day that I was like, all right, we're getting the worms. And unfortunately for me, that was part of me being lured over to find the fake idol when I was hunting for worms. Anywho, I totally get the worms, and you got to do that's kind of another, you know, how people say bucket list. It was for me, it was a survivor bucket list, and I'm proud that I did it. I'm happy that I did it. I'm happy to inspire future seasons to do it. And there's the fly. I also had a fly on my forehead during my season. But the worms, you have to do the worms, and it's it's definitely an experience, and you do feel energized and like satiated instantly after having like
Wow.
2 or 3 worms. They work. The worms work, and highly recommend. We there's 2 methods. And I don't know if you see my series. I have a series out on this right now, everything that I ate when I was on Survivor. Um and I go over the methods. So it's either the swallow method or the chew method. I prefer the swallow method of eating worms.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. It's fun.
You just do it. Okay. And did you do it just once or you would do it often?
You know, I by that time I had figured out how to cook really great papaya.
Hmm.
And so we found a papaya tree, and we had fire. So this is after we get fire, you have more options. So we were making coconut popcorn and papaya. And so the worms kind of took
Yeah.
they play a role, I think, in the first week of Survivor. And then after that you get, you know,
You get smarter.
yes, you get smarter.
It's
You
like
don't have to
freshman year of college. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, but okay, so we do have a clip here, okay, from Instagram. Are you gonna really eat the worm on Instagram? Like, the new series, Everything I Ate on Survivor. Let's listen to Jamie.
Let's take our first bite. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to episode 3 of my new.
Now, in real life, you didn't actually do it.
I didn't do it. So that was my clickbait for the video.
Yes, good
So
job. Okay, and then you have a crab here. Did you prepare this in real life?
yes. So I prepared it in real life. So that's actually a soft shell crab, and part of the series. So this one was about island delicacies, and island delicacies, a worm. Week 1, a worm is an island delicacy, and also crab. So crab, you have a couple options. You have ghost crabs or you have hermit crabs. And I know this because I studied the flora and fauna and the animals that were on, and it's also in the
Not
island
just in
safety
the
guide.
binder. Okay, yes,
They,
it's
they
there
are in the
too.
guide, as the animals that you can eat. The other option is a hermit crab. So one of our first crabs that we ate, like butter, when you get that hermit
Oh,
crab in the pot and you steam it with a little bit of salt water, and then you have your little sliver, like a fingernail size of a serving size of crab, and you put it on your tongue and it just melts away. It's so delicious. Very small, but it is the most satisfying bite that you will have 7 days into Survivor. So it is considered an island delicacy also because you have to be very quick on your feet to catch those things. You are having to use your buff and either tackle them on the beach or tackle them in the jungle. You have to really, really be quick to catch those crabs. And so that's why it's considered an island delicacy. And a crab divided by 5 people is not a lot of meat. But there's something that's so, you know, it's a bonding experience. Eating the
hmm.
worms, bonding. Making crab together, bonding. It's just all part of the game. And so if you can kind of create value in yourself in some way, you know, for me, it's like I loved prepping the food. And yeah, so we have the Everything I Ate on Survivor. It's definitely bringing back all the memories. So when I see, you know, the worm talk, and then also during this episode, I see them talking about the fruit basket, which was really a fun take, an interesting take, a brave
Yeah.
take to
Okay.
to counter the fruit basket, because our tribe won the fruit basket. We got the smaller one. We won the small because there was 2. So during one of those first, it was when I was still on Route 2, we won the challenge and got the fruit basket. And it's the most delectable thing. When you've been eating worms,
Hmm.
the banana, it tastes like candy, like ice cream. And the grapes, oh my gosh. But again, like the fruit's gonna spoil really quickly, but you have a nice little boost in carbs and sugar. Just it's delightful. And I gotta feature that one on my series too, like all of the reward meals. But the thing that's not talked about often enough, and maybe this is where she was coming from. It's a reward, but is it a reward if you're having diarrhea in the ocean afterward? I don't
Mhm.
know.
Okay, yeah. Well, you didn't even get into that. Okay, so Jeff rolls out the reward. Here it is, and Rizgod really wanted a banana. They wanted a banana so badly, and Rizgod is like, please let it be a banana. And Jeff's like, ask and you shall receive, Rizgod. It's a banana. And they're like, how about that, everybody? And then he goes to it's so funny. He goes to Sophie. He's like, Sophie S, like, talk about what does it mean to get these kinds of rewards? She's like, this is diet food. I did not want this. So that was so funny that of all the people that he went to, that was the reaction that she gave. But Jamie, I feel like for you, I was thinking, I bet Jamie would love this reward more than donuts, more than cookies. I bet you were thrilled to have fruit.
Oh, I loved having fruit. It was, oh my gosh, that was a delight. It
Hmm.
was sugar. It was so delicious. It's the most amplified version of these fruits that you can ever experience in your life when you're not eating and you don't have those flavors on your tongue and you're totally
Yeah.
detoxed from sugar, caffeine, everything. And you have your first bite of a banana, you're set on fire. You can take over the world. We were sweeping our area. We were doing chores. It gave us energy to hunt for, more crabs. It was so amazing to have. And I actually prefer that to the heavy, greasy food, or like, for me, I felt very fortunate to be part of the merge where I enjoyed the merge feast. Again, is it really a merge feast where it's a reward because you're gonna be sick afterwards? And that sickness might last for 12, 24, 48 hours, depending on who you are. And if you can play the game and be sick at the same time, good for you. But it's not something that I think a lot of people think about when you're not eating anything. In these new era, that needs to be talked about. And I think in these 90-minute episodes, it's emphasized a lot more.
Should
You're
that
not
be in the
eating.
binder?
It should be in the binder to tread lightly.
Hmm.
But I mean, maybe it's part of a production strategy to have everybody, you're really under fire then if you're having to run to the ocean, to to run to the ocean off camera because of the fruit that you ate. But we definitely did enjoy the fruit, and we
Yeah.
saved some for either was, we set some aside for Matthew at one point, and we divvied it up. So it's like if we had grapes, it's like everybody gets 2 grapes. So the rations, the
Yeah.
rations were a serious thing too.
Okay, so could you just talk about, and we don't have to get graphic about it, but what is the issue with people getting sick about the fruit? Is it that they are overeating the fruit when they get it? It's like, hey, it's going to go bad, so let's just eat it all in one day. If you ate it slower, do you think that people would get sick?
I think it's a combination. I think you do have to eat it slower, but then you're so excited to eat, so you kind of stuff yourself. But you do
Hmm.
ration. Like we rationed it over a couple days. We wanted to make sure that it was before any merge. We wanted to to eat it all before we merged because we didn't want to share. But it was if you the slower the you definitely want to do it slower. And I think a lot of things are happening because your body is switching from fueling it's up from carbs to fat, so it's running in, you're in ketosis when you're out there. By day 3 or 4, you're literally in ketosis. And then if you eat in that stage, you're just gonna have to go to the bathroom. And
Hmm.
if you're maybe not if you just have a banana, and if you do take it
Bananas
slow.
can be very binding.
Yes, so if you maybe a combination then of grapes and bananas, have a grape,
That's
have a
what
bite of a
Rizgod
banana.
knew.
Yes.
Rizgod knew.
So as long as you are listening to your body, which is easier to do out there because you are plugged in. When you are on Survivor,
Yeah.
you're plugged into a different dimension. When you're out there, it's like it's like the jungle dreams. I almost forgot about the jungle dreams.
Tell me about, I don't know about the jungle dreams.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we would talk about this on Rad 2, and I just remembered this. The jungle dreams, you're out there and you're so plugged into nature, and you're also fasting, like you're fasting, not
Hmm.
eating. um
Yeah.
Everything becomes like highly intuitive, like you are very high intuition. You're
Yes.
plugged in, and the dreams are so real. Like I
Yes.
remember I
Okay.
had
This.
a jungle dream where I was like, is this idol fake? I think this idol's fake. And then I woke up the next morning and I was like, no, it's a real idol. It's a real idol. There's no way this is fake idol. Like you're literally having this intuition when you're out there, these dreams that you have. And it was a common thread. Like a couple of us had conversation about the jungle dreams where it's just like they were so real. Anyway, you're just plugged in. It's deeper. It's like you're going to bed with sunset, up at sunrise. It's a really cool experience. And you're not looking at screens. I'm such an island girly. I loved the island.
Well, we saw Nate moved by that he had a very vivid dream where he had seen his kids and he was very affected
Yes!
by it.
Oh my gosh, he did. I totally forgot that yes, they did. He did talk about that on last night's episode. I totally forgot. I'm just now correlating that with the jungle dreams. Your dreams are incredibly vivid.
Yes.
Like to a scary point. If you do get some shut eye and you get into that dream-like state, the actual dream state, you are, oh my gosh, it's like you kind of are just like playing with reality. I mean, it's very powerful. It's very cool. And so I understand that emotion that he had, especially that jungle dream. It makes sense.
Yeah. I can identify. Yes, I do recall like having vividly dreaming on Survivor. I didn't know that's what a jungle dream was.
I don't know. I think we just named it that. We'll have to.
Yeah. I think that also part of it was, I think that like we had to take malaria medication. And I think that also, they told us that was also part of it.
Yeah. You're like, is this for the medication or am I just
I
adapting?
don't know. Yeah. Okay. I would love to talk to you a little bit about Shannon, who is a person who I think of you as a very spiritually tapped in person. That's really what we've come to know Shannon as in this game. She seems to be using that as a strategy to help gain new allies after the swap. What do you think about Shannon?
Yeah, it's really interesting because a couple things. Shannon is, I would say, playing a more exaggerated version of what we've ever seen of, the spiritual take and the meditation. It's a very exaggerated, very, very assertive way to insert the spirituality and almost weaponize it, which is really a scary line to be doing because
Yes.
when you're playing social politics and you're playing this game, you can be a very spiritual person. I love meditation. I love it. But you have to know your audience, read the room, and understand where to insert that idea of that. So you can't really force it. It needs to be something that if you present it and people get excited about it, then great. Let's go meditate on the beach. That's something that on RHAP 2 we did. After we lost and we were almost the disaster tribe, it's like, all right, I'm pulling out the toolbox. We got to do something. We need to come together because we're smarter and stronger than this RHAP 2. Let's do it. And it wasn't forced, but it was like, hey, let's do this. Like, I know, let's try everything that we can. Let's get it out there and let's do it. So we ended up all meditating together as a group. I think it's something where you can't really force it on everyone. And there's like that fine line between spirituality and, religious conversation. So you really want to tread lightly. And I think she's treading in a really strong, powerful way that can kind of be off-putting to a lot of people. If you don't know your audience, you can kind of sprinkle it in and then, you can wrap someone in if they hear certain words. It's like, okay, I'm going to draw them in. And I think she had that conversation with, what's her name? Oh my gosh.
Christina.
Yes, she had the conversation with Christina that worked and it resonated with her, but it doesn't mean it's going to resonate with everyone. And I think that everyone's kind of playing nice and, it's showing the guys on the beach. Some of them have their eyes open and some, they're totally like not into it at all. And because you can kind of feel that pressure and it's like, again, you have to know your audience. So for us, it was like an exciting thing and it was like an all hands on deck thing. Well, or is that just what I think? But we really did all come together. And then when I went over to Soka, funny enough, without knowing, they had already had that habit of, Franny and Danny were leading the meditations, spiritual, not religious. It wasn't ever, it was more of a, like I think Danny would teach like the Wim
Breath work. Yeah.
breath work, and that does, I know that it works, and it will connect you and energize you and align you in a powerful way. And I think that's kind of like the innocent position that Shannon's coming from, because she's experienced success with these things, and she's wanting to share these tools with her team as something that can kind of bring them together. I'm sure that was the conversation, and I know that what we're seeing is like a very exaggerated version. I think she's also an exaggerated version of the idea of meditating on Survivor, because again, you have to know your audience. Not everybody's going to want to do that, and all the time and every day. I mean, we did
Yeah.
it maybe a handful of times, but it's definitely off-putting for the couple people that have mentioned it already, and then they think it's some kind of, charade. I think that it's more innocent than that. I think she's just truly genuinely, because she's still really young. So you also have to think like, okay, how old are these people? She's still young. So it's just an innocent presentation of this version of herself that that she's come to know as. So I think though that she needs to just read the room a little bit more, so that it's kind of it's good intentions. And that's the thing. It's like good intentions, but it's just not going to be received like that by all, especially when people are trying to play this cutthroat version of Survivor. And,
Right.
there's power in it, but it's, you don't want to ever have that pressure to it in already like this pressure filled game.
So, of course, a lot of what we take away from Survivor comes from whose perspective do we see things from. And so this story was really given to us from Sage's perspective. And I did kind of come down on the same side as Sage, where Sage felt like, all of a sudden Shannon is being like a little bit more outspoken with this side of her personality than she was on her original tribe. And I don't know, it doesn't really I'm not really feeling this side of her, and it feels like this is more of a strategy move. I'm interested to know your perspective on Sage so far and where you think things are going for her. Do you think that she's going to be the person who's going to be able to turn people around at the new Kella tribe, or do you think that Shannon is going to get in and Sage is going to go home next?
I think that Sage has a great take. I love Sage identifying the difference and kind of feeling the different vibe that she's putting out. I think where it happened, I think Shannon felt some kind of boost in confidence when she had it resonate with more people, and the connection that she had with Christina probably empowered her a little bit to feel more, kind of emboldened to share this even more strongly. And I think that once you get there's just there's like the few things you don't talk about at the bar, which is like religion and politics and like
We wish, if you're lucky.
Yeah, so it's like back in the day there were rules that you don't talk
Mhm.
about in any social interaction. And she's just not afraid to talk about it.
Now
And
you only
even
go to
more
the
now.
bar that has the politics that you want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. And you can tell by yes. Okay, so it's definitely it's a good read by Sage. I think Sage is going to be the one to turn it around. I think that she will have enough people on her side where then she can sensationalize this by saying, "Hey, she's going overboard, guys. Like, what is
Yeah.
she doing?" And kind of selling it to the other guys that were already, eyes open, not engaged at all. And it's like when you're looking around, you got to know if your audience is not engaged, you need to pivot and then just go do it by yourself, so that it's not a turn off to your tribe, because that is something that now they're talking about it. And it's just at this point you can be called a sociopath by being in finance, so you have to really know
Mhm.
that anything can be used against you in this court of Survivor. So it's it's very important to be aware of that. And I think Sage will be on to Shannon, and I think Shannon is kind of going to find herself in a corner maybe with Christina, and maybe they can sell themselves as a duo. So it'll be interesting. I don't think that it will resonate very well for very long, especially with the powerhouses that we have that are really kind of coming from the Uli tribe, and now the new 2.0.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see if she can kind of pivot away from it. They definitely are highlighting it in a really strong way. And it made me think about myself when I was on there. I'm like, do I need to like text do I need to text everybody? Because I feel like everyone was really engaged in doing our meditation. But it's um it's with good intentions. So I
Yeah.
see where she's coming from. And
I don't feel like I got that as part of your story that you were like I in watching you on Survivor, I got that this is something that you're very passionate about, but it wasn't necessarily like something that was your strategy of I'm going to, enroll people and really try to connect with whatever spirituality they have to build my alliance around that.
yeah.
When
Right.
she
Yeah.
said, it was the line that she said that, I prayed, I don't even care about being in the numbers. I just prayed to God to, put me with the right people. Like to me, I, I think she really wanted to be in the numbers.
Right.
I don't think she, again, far be it from me to call out, I don't know what's in her heart. I don't know if I didn't buy that she had prayed, God, I don't care about being in the numbers. I just want to be with the right people.
Yeah. I think that's it. And I think that it's giving like how do I say it? It's when you're grasping at all of these hindsight, it's very like new agey
Hmm.
everything happens for a reason type
Yeah.
so it's which can also then it takes away from so much of her own power. So it's almost like and again, it's with good intention, and it's something that she's very proud about. So it's exciting because she's sharing what she's proud about, and if that's how she wants to interpret that is and why things happened the way that they did, that's great. But it was yes, that's it's almost like that's her language. That's the way that she's interpreting the situation by
Hmm.
layering it on with this fluff language to make it make sense in her brain. And if that's how it works, that's fantastic. A lot of people that's works really well for them to have that kind of language to put the facts to and or your true like wants and desires. So it's fantastic and I think that's why she's on there, to give a totally different perspective than what
Yeah.
anyone has been exposed to. And I think yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, but I think it'll bring some awareness because again, she's very young, and so it's like dealing with and I don't know the exact ages of everyone, but she seems very young compared to the tribe of or inexperienced, especially having these like deeper conversations, and it's almost like she's like spraying and praying, no pun intended, but like it's really like throwing it out there and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it'll only go so far.
okay. Let me go back to Sage for a second. Did
Mhm.
you know about her jar of blackheads prior to last night?
I think it was in I
Yes.
saw a
Yes.
meme or I saw something and I was like I did. I knew about it before. I didn't know they were going to address it on the show. I thought that was just kind of like
Yeah.
pregame lore. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gross, but it's kind of funny that
How
it's
big is
she's
the jar, do you think? Do you think it's like a very like tiny jar that you would have like spices in, or do you think it's like a big jar
I mean,
like
it's
that you would get like a margarita in a bar?
there's a lot of variables. How many blackheads does she have? How big are they? How long has she been collecting blackheads? Because if she started with the tiny little like Gerber baby
Yeah.
food jar, then that probably filled up,
In
maybe in
my
the
mind,
first
it's like a
5 years.
salt shaker, I think.
Is it? Okay, yeah. We need to ask. Did she post a picture of it, or does anyone know if she's
I don't
shared
know.
more? That's gonna be fun to have her share more about. If she hasn't already, we want to see the jar. Share the jar of
Show the
blackheads.
jar. Come on, Sage.
Could you? Oh my gosh! And then it's like, is it all her blackheads, or is she
Oh,
a blackhead picker? Like, does she like to pick people's blackheads
yeah.
and collect them?
Would other people donate to her jar, or does she want to have a separate jar for everybody's like blackheads?
And how much could she sell it on eBay for? postseason. I mean, depending on how deep she goes, it might be valuable. The
And
blackheads
would eBay
might.
let you sell that? Is that a biohazard?
You're right. It might be a biohazard.
It might be, that I don't know. I see that. I think that these people that they sell, like, that they, I don't want to be too graphic on the podcast, but there's like people like do like pass gas into a jar and then they sell it.
Yes. So she needs to get on to, I don't even know where that is, like the dark web or something. And somebody will buy it. I mean, she could be sitting on, I don't know, 100 grand.
I don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
Only
Okay.
she can share the value of her blackhead jar. But it was interesting to hear her and in her introduction. Was that when they first swapped? That was her introduction to the new people.
Here's a fun fact about me.
Yeah. But I think it's smart.
Did she lie? Yeah.
It's smart because it's just so non-threatening and it's giving I'm not a threat. And so if she's consciously aware of that being her intention, it's a great move. It's like, okay, yeah, here's what I do. And she's just, silly, goofy girl, and that's fun. And it's endearing, and it's like, oh my gosh, she's sharing that on national television. So it's fun.
Let me take a moment and thank our presenting sponsor for this episode of the podcast, our friends over at Manta Sleep, makers of the great Manta Sleep Mask. Let me just show you how customizable it is with Velcro. You get it to fit exactly the way that you want it. So even if you're not on the beach with a hole for your hip and your shoulder, you'll be able to sleep like a baby with Manta. Of course, Manta Sleep's also great if you need a nap. Jamie, you strike me as a nap person.
I do love a nap, and because I do not do well when I'm tired, which is I wish I would have had the Manta Sleep Mask on the island, because that was the game for me. It's like, how do I muster up the energy with
I'm not
zero
myself.
sleep?
If I don't get like a 15-minute nap during the day, and Manta Sleep, that they make it so easy because it's a 100% blackout, not blackhead, 100% blackout, customizable fit. You can fit this in a jar if you want. It's ridiculously comfortable, especially if you're a side sleeper too. Go to mantasleep.com, use promo code RHAP49 and get 10% off your Manta Sleep purchase. Let's see, we have some other fun things to talk about here with you. We had gotten some questions from different people who listen to the podcast. Let me share this one from friend of the podcast. Zach Wertenberger asked,
Love Zach.
Did Jamie sync this episode to Dark Side of the Moon yet? Are there any parallels?
That is a great question for you to ask, Zach. Oh my gosh, I remember my season. I won the award, didn't I? Or wasn't I close? I was in the finalist as one of the best tweet awards that he was giving out.
Tweet of the year.
This is my favorite thing to do.
Well, can I just also give the original tweet, which happy 50th anniversary to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon album. My favorite, fun fact, the album and the Survivor episodes are both 43 minutes long. And remember when? If you watch the episode on mute and start the album at the same time, the synchronicities are unmatched. A work of art.
It truly, I get goosebumps. It's a work of art. And I'm a Wizard of Oz fan. I'm a Wicked fan. You do it to Wizard of Oz, Dark Side of the Moon, and you have this just.
Have people done it to Wicked?
I don't know about Wicked.
It's too much music.
Because it's too much music, and it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, the movie. Mm-hmm. But if you do it to the old school Survivor, and especially like my season, that episode, syncing it to the album, it's so fascinating how spot on the bells, the money song when it hits, everything about it matches up perfectly. If you haven't done it, and I'm pretty sure you can do it with any Survivor episode on Paramount Plus, no commercials, started at the same time. Now it has to be pre-45. So we're talking a new era, early new era, where the episodes are 43 minutes, and then start Dark Side of the Moon, and you are in for a treat, because I mean, it's entertaining. You know what's going on the show for the most part. You can watch it without the dialogue, especially when they get to the challenges and there's all the dinging. It's just it's fantastic. So I have yet to do it with the new episodes. The new episodes they've got to be what, like 60 something minutes
Mm-hmm.
in total. So I will try it and I will report back. And that might be like a fun little, I'll have to make a little video on it because it's so cool. And I love that album. So I'll report back, but I do remember that. Oh my gosh, I thought about that the other day. It's so funny that he asked that.
I mean, he
It was an
has
honor.
an amazing memory for sure. And are there any parallels between anything Pink Floyd and season 49 of Survivor?
Let's see. Season 49. Well, I feel like the vibe of that album is very direct, very like I always say money because that's like my favorite part, the cash register sounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's the parallel that I'll drive. This season it seems very focused on it, and especially with the cutthroat players directing it. We have the doing anything to make it happen, starting with, like, let's say Rizzo copying the puzzle season 1. They had last night doing anything to get that challenge done. That's another thing where it's like, that's why I think it'll be powerful, especially during challenges. I'll have to tee it up and I'll send you a clip where they're lifting people. It's very different even than my season. Some of these challenges, which I like, they're getting more difficult, which I love watching, because stepping on people and lifting people like that is kind of
Yeah.
dangerous, and like in the best way, in the best like old school way of Survivor. So having that kind of power, it's such a powerful album, and the feel of it is very like assertive. We have who else has been very assertive? Well, we know our news journalist.
Savannah, yeah.
So we'll have to see. And then who else I love? I love Steven. Steven he's had the great reads, especially on, I think last night he was talking about
Shannon and Savannah.
Yes.
So Shannon and Sage.
And
Too
Sage.
many S's.
So I think more than anything, it is like that would be it. It would be like the money talk. It's like, guys, this is for $1 million. And so when you're not out there to make friends, and you're literally playing for $1 million, so it's and I don't know, because I know there's a whole conversation about the type of people that are casted now, and before, where it was more like villains, and they don't do villains anymore. But it's like, we're all still playing for $1 million. Like, how far are you going to go for $1 million? Like, that's what's fun to watch. And so anyway, I think it's kind of getting back to that in a way, like, especially, the way that, I don't know. It just has felt more cutthroat is what I would say. I'm liking the vibe of the season so far.
Okay.
Less, although we haven't seen a lot of Survivor because of the not going to tribal that much.
Right. Because I was going to say, that hasn't been my experience with it, where I don't feel like it's been particularly cutthroat. I feel like everybody has been very kumbaya so far. So I do feel like that different people going to tribal council might make the game start to feel more real for more of these players.
Yes. The cutthroat mafioso vibe that I got, it was seeing Sophie with an I vote last night with Savannah.
Yeah.
Split the vote. That to me was like, okay, here we go. Let's see what happens.
Yes.
I mean, maybe it's kind of like new era cutthroat.
Maybe for season 50, you could sync that up with the wall.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The wall is insane. Are we talking about the same wall? It is.
I'm sorry, with Dark Side of the Moon. Dark Side of the Moon. I'm sorry.
Dark Side of the Moon. Dark Side of the Moon. The wall, the Survivor wall, is still to this day. And that's the other thing that is, when you don't eat, you don't have energy to climb a wall. That was my arch nemesis during my season. It was my biggest nightmare, and having to perform at that intense level. This season, they're making it look like a breeze. Really, they really are. All of these challenges, it's like, And I think I read a headline today that Jeff wants to bring out the Golden Bachelor, which I'm like, does that mean they're going
No,
to climb the wall?
so he was asked about this on. So I listened to the On Fire podcast, and Jeremy Collins is the guest host this season. And there was a question they do like questions and answers, and Jay, the other co-host, asked the question of Jeff. They do the Golden Bachelor. Would you ever do like a Golden Survivor season with all the people that are later days? And Jeff said, no, they would not.
Okay.
Surprise.
Okay. So he did say that.
Yes.
Okay, good. So that was a misleading headline. Who's writing those headlines?
Is it Savannah?
She might. Is she? But the idea, which it reminds me, I just did a Survivor season 1 rewatch over the summer, which was so
How was
much
that?
fun. It was amazing. It was fun because, of course,
25-year anniversary.
Yes, and I wanted to kind of just like refresh my Jenna, and it was fun to watch because of the characters. I mean, obviously not knowing anything, but Rudy, I loved Rudy, and he was an older player. It's like
I
we already
loved Rudy too.
and I remember, and I'm a Day One Survivor fan, so I was like
Mhm.
a teenager or like 12 or 13 years old watching this and rooting for him and rooting for that like core 4 alliance. I mean, they had the core 4 there, and from the beginning,
That these kids, they're talking about the vibe. I don't even know what the vibe is.
And it's like, yeah,
They
that.
say this is cinema.
Yeah.
The only cinema I know about is Gone with the Wind.
How perfect would it be if we had a Rudy from back then, like 70 something years old, with Gen Z
Yeah.
alpha
These
like
kids keep saying 6'7". The only 6'7" I know about is 1967, and I was headed to Nam.
Oh my gosh, Rudy. That would be.
I love Rudy, and I got
me
to. I
too.
was. I do not relish many things about my experience on Survivor All Stars, but that one of my most treasured memories of that was that I spent 3 weeks with Rudy outside of the game, and I laughed and laughed and laughed.
He will always be one of my favorites. I loved him so much. Even in the rewatch, I'm like, yes, Rudy. It's so funny the way all of his takes and seeing everybody's organic takes that they're not doing for the clip, the soundbite, the meme. They're just themselves. We know Sue's, speech. Anyway, it was a fun rewatch. I don't know why I went down that path of the.
No, but it's interesting to hear your experience with the show, because I feel like that the average new era Survivor contestant is not somebody who's been with the show since day one.
Yeah, I agree. And I had a lot of thoughts about that also, because I think it's a different experience, a binge watcher versus a person that grew up watching it as it came out, waiting for the new episode to drop. And literally, like I've said a million times, putting the VHS in it because you have a band concert to go to that night and you need to hit record and make sure that Survivor season 1 or 2 records, and do not record over this VHS.
Yep.
And then rewatch it when you get home or with the family over the weekend. I mean, so I think that it's very different if you grew up and you watched it over the years. You watched the evolution before your eyes, which you couldn't even quantify the evolution of it. I mean, you went through all of the true eras you were living in the moment of Survivor, and knowing all, and this was pre-internet also. So you had your conversation with your friends and family, maybe at work or school.
I mean, there were some hardcore people that were on the internet talking about Survivor in 2000. But
you're right.
It's not like how it is now.
Not how it is now. And that's, I never got into the deep threads of that. I would consider myself a super fan of never missing an episode, but even knowing like the feeling of like watching, like Wentworth did not count. Just all of these moments that then are referenced, like we were talking about earlier. Survivor is referenced so many times in our culture, and the fact that we're all on this planet Earth right now getting to live through it, and We all have, Paramount Plus where we can
Yeah.
watch any episode at any given time. It's fun, but it's very different. So they're coming in playing differently because you don't really have the time to kind of sit with it and noodle on these things like
Right.
you did back in the day where you're kind of thinking about it for a whole week and you've gone through 10 scenarios in a week versus when you're binging,
Yeah.
you know the answer to the winner by the end of the day.
It is such a more communal experience now because of how interconnected we all are on social media and our devices, where it is interesting to think about, like, when I went to go play Survivor, I think I had probably talked about Survivor with like a real human being, maybe to maybe 10 people in my life prior to going and being on Survivor. And now everybody is just so connected, which I would love to come full circle and talk about something that you mentioned in the very beginning of the podcast, where you talked about how the players, you feel like that you could see where maybe people could start to believe what they are reading about themselves from the commentary, from the Greek chorus that sits around and watches the shows. You've seen that before, where a person might lose that sparkle in their eye, as Jam Jam once talked about, of that thing that made them special. Sometimes they lose that because of the reaction to the shows.
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I think it's almost like there needs to be more support around it because you are casted to be on one of these shows, whatever it is, Survivor, Big Brother, Love Island, for a reason. The reason is like the spark that is quintessentially you, like that you piece of you. And you go on the shows and you're there just innocently playing this game as the best, most elevated version of yourself. You're excited, your dream is coming true in real life. Is this just a jungle dream or is it real life? And then you have the time, it's like broken up into time periods. So on shows where you get to watch the edit back with an audience at the same time versus like BB where they get out of the house
Yeah.
and they have no idea what happened or how they were perceived. Um, so on a show like Survivor, when you're watching it with the audience at the same time, and you're excited, so you're going to go on Twitter and see what the Twitter community is talking about. Reddit, what's Reddit saying? And so let me reverse, let me go back one step. There's the step after you leave the game. You're amped because your reality was your reality. That was your actual experience. Then you have the section 2 is you're talking with with the only people that knew that you were on the show, whether it's your family and the people that you were casted there with. So you have your group chat. The group chat starts out all 18 people. You're all chit-chatting, everyone's happy, go like, oh, this happened, oh, what are they going to show this? And it's exciting, you're building up and you're still kind of that core group, and it's fun. And then you get to the next level where then the announcement goes out. And the announcement brings a lot of thoughts because you have your press interviews out. You have a lot of information that people can come and interpret it however they
Yes.
want. And then that's when the idea of you and you're so rooted in your excitement and who you are and who you showed up as starts to tilt. And it's like, wait, what? But that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant by that. And you have a huge audience, millions of people, not only on the internet, but even millions of people that aren't even on the internet. Like literally, I was just at In-N-Out last night and someone was like, were you on Survivor? I was like, hi, that's me. So it's like you have people she's probably not even on the internet, but you have people that are watching you. So you have that first introduction of like, okay, well, I can't correct everyone. Then you go into seeing, and then you see like, well, wait, they're saying that about this person, but I know this about that person. That's not true. And it's like, wait, that's not how it went. So then you're like arguing, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm still believing, like I know, this is my like little bit of advice for anyone on these shows is write down your experience or talk to the camera about your experience. That is your POV, and it's important to hold true to your POV and what you thought and felt during that excited time. So then episode 1 comes out and everybody has an opinion, and it is so hard. You can say I'm not going to watch the internet, I'm not going to look at the internet, I'm not going to read the threads, but you're human. I think the only person on my cast that did not was Heidi. I think that she protected herself in a way where her husband would read everything, which I love that about their relationship. She was just like, I'm having fun with it. And we love Heidi. And so I think she kind of got into the weeds, but for the most part, I don't think she did. So once you start reading, so then you have this like wave of opinions, and you have a wave of opinions of like from all angles. The regular TV, the Twitter, you have all the universes. You have Reddit, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, and you might be loved on Facebook and then everyone hates you on TikTok or vice versa. So you have
Yeah.
all this information happening. And so then you're kind of like, you lost that little, your light has like dimmed. And so like, you're kind of resisting that shine, that bright shine. So your resistance is turned down and you're like, okay, what's happening, or turned up, what's happening, why am I like feeling this way, that's not how it happened. And then it's like you go through like the stages. I should actually write this out because it's like the
Yeah.
stages of
Listen,
like grief.
I am all ears.
And yes,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
So, okay. No, pretend I'm a person who had been on a reality show that hasn't been on the air yet. What advice would you have for me?
I would say write down your experience. Remember how you felt when you were going on to the show, and stay true to that and who you are, and that excited, happy, joyful spark, that spark that's literally the spark that got you onto that spark that no one could really figure it out or really exactly describe it. That's who you are, and that's why you're there, and nobody will ever understand, and they're never going to be on the show. So don't listen to them. Don't listen to anyone that has any opinion other than, I think you can get sage advice from the people that have actually gone through this and gone through it during the internet days, because I think that's old school people. It's like, yeah, you have that, and they had exposure in the way of the Today Show or Entertainment Weekly, which I still have some of those magazines. It's great, that's amazing. But they didn't have the pressure and the comments. I would honestly say, stay away from the comments if you can. Stay rooted to who you are. Don't ever lose your POV, because then the last couple phases are, once the season starts airing, it starts to really mess with your experience. You start to believe the edit. And then if you believe the edit, you're believing, so the edit is for the viewer. The viewers are believing the edit. That's the only experience they have. And so if the viewers are believing that, that's what they're amplifying online. Even though that might not be the truth, it's never the truth. It's not. We're watching a curated it's a real show. We really went out there and played without any help from anyone. But it's curated to tell a story for 3 people. The 3 people that make it to Final Tribal. So if you can remember that, and don't lose your POV and all of that, but remember that the story is being told for these 3 people, so that you can root for the underdog, root for, the person that is the fastest at puzzles, or root. So that story, so your story might get lost in all that, which is important. Again, going back to the first steps, which is write down or talk through your experience, because that might not ever make the air, and it might not make sense the way that things are put together. They're putting it together for entertainment purposes for ages, I think 7 and up now. So it's going to be a simplified version of your experience, and it will never be the real thing. You'll never have that. But whatever you do, then don't lose your spark. And in the way of like, and I can tell in someone's eyes when they read the internet. Like, I can tell if I met a person before their seasons aired, and then I meet them at Merge at a watch party, I can see it in their eyes, and it's like,
What do you
no,
see?
it's the sparkle that Jam Jam talks about. It's like, it's dimmed, and it's like they don't want to believe it, because then they don't want to believe the comments, and they want to stay strong and powerful. And you can say as much as you want, like, oh, I don't believe the comments. It's not natural to read a million opinions about yourself. And so it's
Our brains weren't designed
they're
for
not.
this. That
They really
we have brains that were designed for like caveman
Eating
life
worms.
and eating worms. You were only supposed to meet like 100 people in your whole life. You weren't supposed to be able to
Yes.
like look at your magical device and see here's what 1,000 different people think about you.
Correct. And it's like back in the day, I didn't know the news that was happening in Australia because we weren't meant to know that unless it made it into the encyclopedia where I had to go to the library and pull out A through B encyclopedia. What happened in 1999? So it's really you're so no, and I say this also because obviously my lived experience is like I thought that I would be strong enough to handle it, but it's painful. It
Yeah.
hurts. Like it hurts when you know that you played a certain way, or your sound bite was clipped a different way to sound this way. It's like, so you kind of have to really understand the production side of it, creating and curating a show for entertainment purposes, that you were there and it's your lived experience. They can only curate it so much. So what
Yeah.
you said is what you said, but they can use what you said for or against you. And that is, if you are the final 3, 4, then you're likely going to have a shot at them wanting to, and I say this, the
Yeah.
edit wanting to create a story where people root for you and they stay tuned in. Like if you're voted out mid-season, like what's the point? That so I
Mhm.
would say don't dim your light, stay full blast as much as you can. Obviously it's still an exciting thing. You're seeing these memes come out and you're laughing. You have to laugh at yourself, you have to laugh at it, and you have to also then realize, like, when you see the hate comments, it's like they're never going to be on Survivor or understand it. And like how sad that, like, because if you think about it, sometimes I sit there and I think, like, if I'm on my phone, it would be so hard for me to sit there and write something mean. Like, to just truly be like, you are the dumbest person. Like,
Mhm.
could you imagine typing that out? And you're like,
And
send.
people
It's
write
like,
very mean things,
it has to,
right?
like, and they read the meanest. That's like the nicest version of the mean. But
Mhm.
it's like,
Look,
imagine doing
I
that.
could see myself making a joke. Like, I'm not gonna say like
Yeah, and
I've probably said regrettable things on a
yes,
podcast or on social media, but
but
like I'm trying to be funny. Like
yes, and there's a fine line. It's also
yeah,
entertainment purposes. So you have to play into that. And especially for me, the only way that you will survive your post-game season is playing into the edit. You have to cheer on the edit.
yeah,
The edit is what happened. The winner won for a reason, and you have to just play the game. You're still playing the game after you haven't played the game in over a year. So you're reading this stuff about you, and it's like you have to just laugh about it, or you know, go. You have to find, and then also I will say the other thing is, don't lose who you are then in this. Like, you have to keep strong to, if you go running every morning, if you do yoga every morning, whatever it is that you do, keep doing that as you're watching this unfold, because and it happens I'm not talking just Survivor. It's like you can see the shiny sparkly person that is on like season 1, and then if they're like a reoccurring character, you see the difference. I mean, they're
hmm
different season 2. Goes for reality across the board. And I grew up watching reality TV. I mean, we were just talking about like '08 housewives are different than the 2025 housewives. So
hmm
it's a very meta thing to go through, and it's not something we're built for. And if you can just stay out of the weeds of the comments, you will be better off. Have fun, and have fun with your cast, which will support
yeah,
you. There's a huge Survivor community in all areas, in RHAP, in Bryson Wen, and finding those connections where you can build each other up. And Survivor, like, real recognize real. Like, when you're a Survivor player, you see another Survivor player, what we've all been through. Like, and it's something that it's fun, and I wouldn't change anything because it just makes you stronger. Not to be like so cliche about anything, but it truly does.
hmm
It does give you this different kind of like interpretation of the world, and then like understanding, oh yeah, the internet is just, it's wild. So just stay true to who you are. Don't lose your POV. Take care of yourself, self-care. And yeah, don't ever forget your experience is true. It's the real life one. And you might not have ever, like, I want to say this actually. uh like Kane and I had Triple R, our little a little alliance, and that never got covered. We talked about it all the time, and it was like realize. And if he's watching this, he's gonna laugh. But that was like our Triple R alliance.
Wait, who was in Triple R?
It was Kane and I, and which is also another reason that I gave my idol to Kane, thinking knowledge is power was there, because we were number ones in everything, ride or die, Triple R. I was like, yes, this is it. And it's the, the realize, like realize, like you realize something, realize. Anyway,
I'm not following this at all, but okay.
Sorry, I'm rambling. Yeah. But my point is, though, some stuff never makes the TV show, and that's fine. And so you have to just support the TV show that's out there and have fun with it, even though you might not be the center of the storyline. Yeah. That's okay.
But you're making so many interesting points, and that to everybody who went and to play in the game, everybody probably felt like that they had main character energy. That, okay, well, this is my story. This is going to be great when everybody sees that. And there's a disconnect when that isn't how the editors or producers felt like the story went.
Exactly. And that's okay. If you have to be okay with being an NPC for the season.
Yeah. Even Matt was like, oh, there was I thought there was a lot of things that I was doing that they would have shown.
Exactly. And I think that's everyone's key takeaway once you start to watch it back. And also, and I say keep your POV, because you don't have to necessarily believe the edit, because the edit is the curated version for entertainment purposes that is fun for memories and it'll trigger reminders, but that's not exactly how it unfolded. Because also, the reason that I love Survivor and why I love it so much since day one is it's such an intricate game. It is so layered, multifaceted personalities, dimensions. This game is amazing for that reason. And it is so hard to tell that story to a 7-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 30-year-old and a 35-year-old that are all watching. And they all need to interpret this the same way. That's their core demo that they're trying to tell a story for. When you're playing this social game, there's so many pieces to it that no one will ever understand, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that, because there's so many pieces that even producers don't realize that you're doing. They don't know why you said that. They don't know why you gave the majority of the coconut to this person that can't eat the papaya. Like, they don't know why. And that's like part of the social piece of it. There's so many layers to it that are never exactly displayed on, that are so that's a powerful move in the game, but nobody would ever think that. But it's like, no, they remember that because that's how you made that person feel. So anyway, that's why I love Survivor, because it's a social game with many layers, and you can go on. And if you put the same 18 people on, or you put all winners on, or you put it's always a different game. There's so many different POVs, life experiences, and you bring back people and you see that little shine go out, and it's like, don't lose the shine. Like, don't lose the shine. Just go back and be you in the best, most animated, elevated, like the elevated version of you that when you just feel that when you're aligned, that feeling of alignment of just like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. This is it. That it's just such a beautiful. So you kind of have to find your way back to that.
I've heard that described, when that feeling of alignment, it's when the 7-year-old version of you and the 80-year-old version of you are both approving of what the present you is doing. That's when you feel that alignment.
That's going to make me cry. That is so beautiful. That really is it. That's the sweet spot. That's like the shiny, sparkly you that is there, so confident and rooted in your excitement for life. Like, we're here on a moat, a speck of dust, suspended in a sunbeam at this time during Survivor. We're celebrating the 50th season coming up. So it's like, if you can find that aligned version of you and just amplify it, and obviously like take time to heal, because I know everybody's reading the internet, everybody's watching the podcast, and again, like, the podcasts are part of the fun. They're leading on the edit, they're reading the edit, they're analyzing the edit, and it's part of the fun, and what they say goes. That's the truth, and it might hurt some people's feelings, but that's okay. That's what you signed up for. I think that there can be more like more transparency around like what that means, because you don't know what it means when you go to play. You forget that there is only going to be 3 or 4 main characters. That's just it.
Yeah. There more transparency on the part of the producers and the production of like, hey, just so you know, because I think they probably, and I think that they have taken a lot of strides to try to, okay, we are going to really try to tell everybody's story, and we have 90 minutes. And so I think that they do earnestly want to try to like give everybody their moment and try to like that they try not to really dunk on too many people like they used to back in the day. But really, at the end of the day, it's probably only going to be like 5 or 6 people that they're really going to feature out of the 18-person cast.
Yeah, I think this is a new part of, yes, it's a new part of the evolution where they are putting the efforts in, especially with the larger 90-minute episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to be, you're an art project for them. Like you are an art project that you're a tool in their art project, and they get to, make funny scenes and create exactly the art that they want to put out in the world. And that's how you have to think about it. It's not a documentary. It is literally an art project, a fun, entertaining show that can have some really cool, moments, blindsides, mud challenges, whatever they want to highlight. And so I think that there's been more efforts to it, but also like on the back end, I think would be really helpful for people because again, and like I'm interested in it across the board with reality TV, that spark not dimming for people. What is the solution? Is it more back end support directly from production because because they're telling the story that they want, podcasts and all of media and all of the fans to recognize, and that's fine. That's what you signed up for. And so anyway, it can hurt. And even if it's just one bad comment, I mean, you get a ton of great comments, but the one bad one sticks out and it's not even worth and that's the other thing is like, you can't believe the good comments either. Like you have to be neutral in comment zone. Like somebody can say like, I love you. Oh my gosh, you're the best person on the planet. But it's like, if you give that power, then you're giving the person power that is like tearing you down. So you really have to find the space of neutrality, and maybe that's it. But it's a pattern, and especially, and the longer and the bigger your audience is, like the Love Island audiences are huge, and their lights, like it just dims. And I'm like, no, you're the shiny star that you were episode 1. Like
this is such an interesting conversation. It really is. And I think that just to go back to your question of like, what can be done about that? I think that really what the issue is there might be an expectation of that you go and participate in this surreal, thrilling, out of body experience, and you have all of these dreams about what it's going to be and what it's going to mean in terms of like your importance and the change it's going to bring to your life. And then if for whatever reason it doesn't turn out to be that, I think that those comments especially are like a reminder that it was not that experience that you dreamt of, that you envisioned. And I think it's all the more reason why they are hurtful. And I think that that's where the spark ends up getting drained from people because of the unmet expectation. And many people have said, expectation is the great thief of joy.
It is.
I think that we can't resist coming into these experiences with these expectations. And then some of the times for some people, those expectations are met and it's amazing. And for others, it's an unfulfilled expectation. And sometimes that could feel worse than the thrilling part felt.
Yes, exactly. And that's the key, is not letting that outweigh the dream that came true, that expectation. Because the other thing is your mind is so powerful. So if you do kind of want to envision and visualize, like, what would it be holding the $1 million? Like, I remember when they told me, like, okay, pick out what jury outfits you want to bring. And I was like, what? I'm not going to the jury. Like, why am I sending now? And so it's really, there's like that balance of balancing, like, okay, I'm visualizing this as my experience, but also I'm not going to expect that. But then it's like it's like perfect. You have to find the balance of like expectations and visualizing what you want to happen, but then also be what is it? You have to have your um like the heal, whatever you do to heal and to stay rooted and true to you. So if it's like yoga, running, meditation, working out, whatever it is to kind of clear your mind and stay true and rooted to yourself and to keeping your shine. Everybody knows what makes them shine. Like, what is it? Is it, reading? Is
Hmm.
it whatever it is? Keep doing that so that you don't lose yourself in this experience that is, again, your dream just came true. You cannot be mad at it at all. It's just a matter of adapting to the missed, the different, your expectations being stomped on, and then also not losing sight, because it's like you don't want to go into everything without expectations, because it's like you do want to kind of have expectations. So it's a balancing act that's just so hard to play. And like you said, we can't resist having a high expectation, and wanting to have whatever your expectation was, whether it's you want to be like a legend, or
Yeah.
how you want to be perceived. It's like you'll never be able to control that. You can just control how you feel in the moment, and know that your dream came true. And literally now that know that that dream came true, anything's possible. Literally anything's possible. You can do anything. Like you went and you said you wanted to play Survivor, and you did it. Like what's next? Like that's the cool thing, is like
Yeah.
anything's possible.
Yeah, you have to be able to enjoy the experience regardless of the outcome. You have to
Mm-hmm.
separate the outcome from the doing of the thing. And I think that that's the way to carry yourself. Easier said than done sometimes.
It
And
is.
to anybody who's listening who might, be resonating with this conversation, what I would say to them, and I've gotten to speak with so many survivors over the years, and especially people who are huge fans of the show who maybe it didn't go their way. I always tell them, like, hey, this was just like one cool thing that you did. I can't wait to see what else you're gonna do.
That's it. That's exactly it. It's like it it's a drop in the bucket. Like it's a very
Hmm.
cool thing, but it's not your entire personality. It's
Yeah.
really it's not. Your dream came true, and keep the dreams coming. Like what's next? Like write it down. Whatever it is that you work towards and believed in, that made this come to fruition for you, you can do anything now. So it is, I think that's really great advice, especially to not really, you can't really blame anyone. You can't blame anything. It's just, you have to take it and roll with the punches, and like
Yeah.
they hurt, but you'll get over it. Like it's really like, it's not that big of a deal. It's,
And here's the real irony is that there are people who have won the show that you wouldn't want to switch places with. There are people
yes,
who have gotten all of the airtime that you wouldn't want to be for a day. And, just because they got what you really wanted doesn't mean it worked out great for them.
rejection is your protection.
I
So
haven't heard
it's
that.
yeah, it's like if it's protecting you in some way. And um you know it's it's easy to be like on the outside looking in wishing, but you
Hmm.
can't, because there's people on the outside looking in wishing that they got the chance to go out on the beach. So
Yeah.
you have to
Think about
meet.
these alternates who were so,
Yes,
oh, like, like
they
this
go,
stinks. I didn't get on the show.
yes, and I think if you can meet whatever pain that a comment, or the aftermath, like that last phase of like watching yourself back on national TV and having
Yeah.
everybody chime in, like the freaking, if you can if you can meet that pain with gratitude, like truly, it kind of sounds like a little woo woo, but truly, like, meet it with gratitude and remember how grateful you were when you got the call or the FaceTime, and you're going to be on the next Survivor, going back to the gratitude and how grateful you are for having had that experience, that only there's like 700 or 800 of us that have ever played.
751, I think.
751, like, that is amazing. We are so lucky. We got to play. We all wanted the same thing, and there's only one winner per season. So
Hmm.
it's, and you
Some of
have
them win
this.
twice.
Yeah, some of them, if you're amazing like the queen, you can go in
Yeah.
without any twists and do it twice. And
Remember
so
that, Matt.
yes, take note, Matt.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
Yes.
Well, Jamie, this was such a delight. I consider myself very lucky to have gotten the chance to have talking about all this with you, and this was so much fun. Thank you
Yes,
for
I
making the
had so
time.
much fun. Yes, so happy. Thank you for having me. I love you guys. Love the podcast, and I hope to see you guys soon. Hopefully I can make it to one of your events and we can celebrate in person.
Okay. Jamie, what else is going on for you? What should people check out?
Well, while I'm here,
Oh, you said
I know you
Jamie will eat a worm if her video gets 1 million views on Instagram.
I forgot. I didn't think anyone would notice that I put that.
I read it. I was gonna put it up, and I was getting too many. I was on the Rob is a Podcast Instagram account. I was getting too many notifications. I had to close
Yes,
it.
I did write that. If there's a million views or a million likes, I wrote something. If that video gets a million views, I'll eat a worm or two.
Or two. Okay.
And I'll go live and I'll do it.
And you'll go live with Jimmy Haggerty.
Yes. the series that we talked about is really what I have had so much fun the last month and a half creating. I was so inspired. It just kind of came to me like, I need to do this because food is my thing. And I love sharing this, and I love sharing all these recipes of what we really ate on the island, because I think it's also a missing piece that like you're literally not eating out there. And especially if you don't have fire. So anyway, I have my whole, all of my videos planned. There's like 15, like 12 for each episode. And then I have some bonus ones, and I always throw in bonus ones because I ramble, as we can tell from this podcast. And yeah, so if you want to check that out, I'm posting them on TikTok and Instagram. I think I'm going to throw them up on YouTube as well, just to kind of get it out to the Survivor universe of, hey, do you want to learn what we're actually eating on the podcast, and take some inspiration to make it at watch parties. But the key is you got to tell everybody that comes to your watch party not to eat for the entire day, so they can have the real Survivor experience of how good it tastes when you're really, really hungry. So it's very different when you eat all of these items when you're hungry.
You know, that's another thing that we could explore at some other time maybe, is that the key to enjoyment of anything is deprivation. And that's when people see like, Rob, what do you eat for a snack? And I'm like, oh, I put protein powder and Greek yogurt. Like, that's not a snack. And like, well, if you don't eat any other snacks, that's a good snack.
Yes, exactly. And that's what you
You
really
meet a kid that has no toys, you take them to the dollar store, best day of their life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest lesson from the island also, is you realize you don't really need anything. You don't have anything. You get home and you're like, I have too much stuff. But yeah, you can find me at Jaime Lynn Ruiz across all of the platforms, and check out the series Everything I Ate When I Was on Survivor. My name is Jamie. I was on Survivor season 44, and I'm sharing everything that I ate. That's my little intro, which P.S. I love Riz God's intro that he does, or the way that he describes himself. On Riz God,
Rizgod, the man, the myth, the legend, so Riz God, baby.
Yes, you put it on a T-shirt. It's so good. I love it.
You know, I don't even know what a Riz God is.
I mean, maybe what's her name will know.
Who?
She might pray to that god.
Oh, the Shannon prays to the Riz God. Yes.
Wait, I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows? All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We have got Kenny Huang from Survivor Gabon joining us for the old school interview, and I'll be doing the patron Q&A as well on Friday. So check that out, plus Club Condo coming up and everything else in our We Know Survivor feed. Thank you for listening, everybody. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.
This is RHAP. We Know Reality TV.